sports, and politics. Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
You're the dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's Mr. FSP. Welcome to Fantasy Sports and Politics as we get ready to get you set for your fantasy season. Now, in years past, I used to have a co-host that would, do offense and I would do defense. But that has changed. It's me, Mr. FSP. And what I'm going to bring to you today is my rankings for individual offensive players. I'm starting with the tight ends, okay? The tight ends are my focus. So I'm going to give you from 15 to 1, fantasy-wise, where I think these players are going to land. Now, let me preface this by saying names are names, but schedules and usage is what I'm basing this off of. Schedules and usage. Meaning, everybody wants to rush out and get Travis Kelce. Okay. Pat's going to use him, but is he still the top tight end in fantasy? My answer is no. It is flat out no. I don't believe Travis Kelce is the player that he once was, nor will he be used like he once was. So with that being said, that's my tease. Let's get into it. And you know what? I like the rock beat, so let's go with some rock. By the way, if you want to jump on, please, all means, jump on. Go into, that might be a little too loud, I'm not sure. Bring it down a little bit more. There we go. You can go in on the chat or wherever you're watching and type a message. I'll reply. Understand, if I reply, we're going to have a dialogue. I may agree or disagree with what you're saying. I don't know yet, but feel free to comment. If you want to come on the airwaves, shoot me a private message with your email, and I'll send you out a link. Be prepared to be on air and debate your points. That's the bottom line, because Mr. FSP said so. SummerSlam 2-night event last night was epic. I'm a big wrestling fan, so I can't help it. It was good to me. It was so good. We'll see how they top it tonight. But let's talk about these tight ends. Also, on today's show, I want to discuss some holdouts that are holding in. Terry McBride, Hendrickson, Terry McLaurin, and the biggest one, loudest one, Micah Parsons. Earlier today, Jerry Jones had something to say about it. He basically talked about how he was negotiating with Jay-Z's Rock Nation and Jay-Z personally about Dez Bryant's contract. And the things that Jerry spoke about were going at the credibility of Jay-Z, pretty much. Paraphrasing here, he pretty much said when he was negotiating with Jay-Z for Dez, Jay-Z said that all of his people are on time, it's so on and so forth, and you can count on him to be on time. And Jerry's like, well, Dez wasn't on time, so I'm not gonna deal with that type of stuff. And Jay-Z clapped back in a post saying he's kept a lot of things under wraps. But what Jerry Jones was saying is totally bogus. Now, Jerry went on to say something that I can see Jay-Z saying, not sure. The quote goes in the lines of, my office was the corner, and I was always there on time. So all of my people will be on time. That's surmising the quote. And Jerry was like, nah, okay, I'm going to sign up for this. But Dez didn't do what you said he was going to do. So Jerry's stirring up the pot now. He's not talking about, and he makes sure to say that he's not talking about Dez and he's not talking about Micah. He's talking about agents. Because what Micah has said is he does not want to negotiate his contract with Jerry or Steven. That's his agent's job. So Jerry is saying that the agents are the reason why we can't get this done. Ain't my business. The more the Cowboys implode, the better it is for my team, the Washington Commanders. I don't care what happens to the Cowboys. If Micah sits out the whole year, thank you. If Micah decides, because he put that letter out, the bye-bye letter, and saying he no longer wants to be there. But then Jerry also puts out a note to the fans on X saying, pay this no never mind. And to be honest, it's negotiating. It is negotiating. They're negotiating in public. That is the way that agents are advising their clients now, to negotiate in public, put ownership on blast. Because let's face it, ladies and gentlemen, these players are told things in private by the GM, the owner, only to not have these things happen the following year when they're told to do it. Hendrickson is a prime example. Brown said that they were going to take care of this man this year. So he didn't, throw a fit last year for an extension. Came in. All he did was just lead the NFL in sacks 2 years in a row. But what did Mr. Brown and the Cincinnati Bengals do? They paid Jamar Chase and T. Higgins first. They let go of Pratt, their starting middle linebacker. Their defense looks to be in shambles. And the league leading sack leader 2 years in a row is unhappy. So when you have that happening in your organization, and you've talked to management, you've talked to ownership, got the, hey, you're our guy, you're going to be here forever. And they turn around and want to lowball you or not take care of you. Why not go the public route of talking about it? Not only did he go public with it, he shared information from a text from the head coach. I guess he had enough of this, backdoor talk that returned no fruit. NFL organizations want to hold players to standards and hold them to their word. And I get it, they should. Players should do the same thing. hold the owners to the same standard of, this is what you promised you were going to do for me. Now let's do it. NFL sports organizations will not uphold the complete bargain. They'll tell you, you're under contract, play it out. Sports analysts will say the same thing. Anybody that says, well, why don't they get in? They'll say the same thing. But as soon as an owner or general manager decides to cut bait of a player before they get that full contract, it's, oh, they're doing a business move. It's okay. Look out for the organization. But the player becomes the villain because they want to be paid fairly. And I'm a Terry McLaurin advocate for the Washington Commanders. That man was 10 toes down when they drafted him, and the team was a debacle. Ownership was terrible. Everything. By far, numbers show he's worth 30 million plus. By far. Last year of the deal. Literally, the heart and soul of that team. I think the only other person that has a longer tenure on the team right now is Deron Payne. You don't treat your players that were with you when it was down times, and with you when you start to turn that corner, and main catalyst for you turning that corner, the way Terry McLaurin is getting treated. You don't. You don't treat Hendrickson that way. Now, Micah was part of the resurgence. But if you notice, the Cowboys had all that offense, decent defense, got blown out by Green Bay at home in the playoffs 2 years ago. I'm not saying Michael Parsons is not worth the money. They moved him around, middle, outside, DN. He's worth the money. But how will Dallas do it? Can Dallas, like Michael Jackson said, gonna make a change for once in my life? One person texted me and said the Cowboys won't win a Super Bowl until 5 years after Jerry Jones has passed away. Jerry Jones has said he's never giving up the GM position of his team. And it's his right. It's his money. He knows football. I'm not gonna, he does. But does he know the current athlete? I don't know. All right. Let's get into our individual offensive players. Tight end position. All right, here we go. Now, you might have your players ranked differently. You actually might. I, my friends, have them ranked on where I believe they're going to finish. Right? I believe that these players are vital cogs to moving the ball down the field in the run game and the pass game. So, with that being said, my first, at number 15, my first person I'm going to talk about, he played 14 games last year, only had 81.6 fantasy points. Now remember, well, if you were here yesterday for my Fantasy Sports and Politics show, I did IDPs, individual defensive players, with a focus on the defensive linemen / linebackers. This is a tight end. 81.6 points compared to some of the defensive ends and linebackers getting over 100 points. I think each one got over 100 points. except one, but he only played 5 games. I want you to understand the tight end position is just as valuable as an IDP. And I'm proving it. In 14 games, 81.6 points, had 87 targets, 59 receptions, 600 yards even, 4 touchdowns, and they attempted to run the ball with him 1 time. Targets, equal opportunity. Out of 87 targets, caught 59 of them. All of them might not have been catchable. I don't know. But 600 yards even and 4 touchdowns makes him my number 15 pick. From the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I give you Cade Otton. Otton. Cade Otton. Baker Mayfield threw 41 touchdowns last year. 4 of them went to him. I would say, had he played those 3 games, he probably would have had maybe 2 more, 3 more. This year, he's healthy. Tampa Bay has a healthy Godwin, Evans, and the rookie they drafted, a wide receiver, Ibuka, from Ohio State, Cade Otton. He'll get opportunities. Just wait and see. Otton is my number 15. Okay? Let's go. My number 14. Got him a book today. Now, this one is a favorite of mine. Last year, finished tight end number 8. Right? Number 8. And played 17 games. People thought he was washed. Some leagues, he wasn't even drafted. I know I was in some of those leagues. I was guilty of not drafting him. In a few of them, I drafted him in maybe 1. And it was paying off. He had 111.4 fantasy points. Like I said, 17 games, 91 targets. A tight end receiving 91 targets, catching 66 of them. He caught 2/3 of the targets. 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns. 91 targets is probably around receiver-like numbers. He had a rookie quarterback, and he had to come back. Zach Ertz, Washington Commanders. Zach Ertz is a very, very potent weapon in the Commanders' offense. Not only does he block, but he pass receives, and he was the 2nd leading target getter for Washington. Terry was number 1. But Zach, 91 targets? Targets equal opportunity. And 7 touchdowns, that helps you in fantasy. It's my number 14. I look for him to get a little bit more this year. A little bit more. Look, defenses are going to try to scheme and keep Jaden Daniels in the pocket. That to me, Zach Ertz is going to have more time to run around. Deebo Samuels, all those guys. Hopefully, Terry McLaurin is one of the people that Jaden Daniels gets to throw to this year. And this whole trade me stuff is just negotiations. But Zach Ertz is the main target, along with Terry McLaurin. Adding Deebo, be on the lookout for what Washington can do. My number 13. Oh, yes. I don't like the team, but remember what I said at the top of the show. These rankings are based on schedule and usage. Schedule and usage. Dallas has the 32nd strength of schedule. That means the easiest schedule. They have the easiest schedule in the NFL. And you add Pickens to the mix with CeeDee Lamb. Ferguson was already, he finished tight end 31 last year. Okay, let's keep it real, which wasn't good. But he played 14 games. He had 45.4 fantasy points. But here's what I'm telling you. That was with just him and CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee had, 140, 150 catches, something like that, or targets. Pickens is going to eat at that. But while Pickens and Lamb are on the outside, guess who's going to take care of that middle? Ferguson. He had 86 targets, 59 catches, no touchdowns. But Jake Ferguson, with a healthy Dak Prescott, George Pickens, CeeDee Lamb, and a decent run game, Ferguson, I think, is going to eat. I think he's going to eat. And I hate that he's a Cowboy and saying this, but I don't think you can ignore the impact of Pickens on that team. You can't. Jake Ferguson is going to benefit from that addition. He absolutely is. I don't think you have to look far to find someone that's going to benefit the most from the addition of Pickens. It's Ferguson. All right. Let's stay in the NFC East because so far 3 NFC East tight ends. Let's go to the fourth. Now, last year, he finished tight end 27. Only played 10 games. 61.6 fantasy points. And I keep reiterating for those that don't believe in individual defensive players, these tight ends are not. Zach Ertz so far is the only tight end in the top 15 that had over 100 fantasy points. So far. Now I get it. I'm at the bottom. We'll get to the top. There are going to be some over 100. But a tight end an individual defensive player is just as valuable as a tight end. If you're not playing with an IDP, you might want to consider it. Okay. He had 52 targets. Caught 42 of them. That's insane. 52 targets, catching 42. That's 90%. 496 yards, but only 2 touchdowns. You have to think about what Philadelphia is. They are a run-heavy team with Saquon, AJ, Slim Reaper, Devontae Smith, and Goddard is probably the 4th man in that equation. Last year, when people were getting hurt left and right, he racked up reception after reception, then he got hurt. Right now, he's my number 13 because I believe he's going to be utilized more this year. I have no reason to think he won't be. Smith has been paid. AJ's been paid. Saquon's been paid. Dallas wants to get paid. Contract year. They're going to feed this guy. So no ifs, ands, or buts about it. It's just a matter of, is it going to be a top end feed, a bottom end feed, a middle feed, or throughout the season? You really don't have to draft Dallas Goedert, right? The people I've named so far are in the top 13. And if you're in a 12-team league, odds are they're not getting drafted. Odds are. Not too many people get 2 tight ends in a draft, right? If you have that really good tight end that has a late bye week, odds are you're not going to draft another one. And when they have their bye week, you're going to stream somebody else. Hopefully they stay healthy. But you never know. Dallas Goedert, number 13. My number 12. Ooh. He was my number 12. Excuse me. He was my number 12. Number 11. Now, this guy, he would have been, honestly, in my top 5 had he stayed where he was. But he didn't. Last year he finished tight end 33. Not a good year because he was injured. The whole team imploded, right? Nobody really had a good year last year except a rookie wide receiver. And this guy only had 42.5 fantasy points. But he moves on to a different team that desperately needs to find a number 2 target, right? Last year he only played 9 games. As I said, he was injured. But where he was the security blanket for the quarterback. Honestly, he was. And I think that's what he's going to be for this new situation in Denver. I'm talking about Evan Ingram. He had 64 targets, 47 receptions, 365 yards, and 1 touchdown. You had 64 targets in 9 games. Do the math. Do the math. Targets equal opportunity. So, Cortland Sutton is the guy in Denver. Bo Nix, and I said it last year, when Bo Nix needed something, that's where he got the ball to. They didn't move the rock unless Cortland Sutton touched the ball during a drive. It's documented, right? When you add a pass-catching tight end in Evan Ingram to the mix, sometimes he catches, sometimes he doesn't. But when you add him into the mix, Bo Nix has a security blanket across the middle, Cortland Sutton on the outside, and young talent that he's familiar with coming back for year 2. And even the receiver he was the quarterback of in college is there as well. There's potential for explosive offensive plays for Evan Ingram. Cortland Sutton is just as big as him, but he's outside. 2 big bodies in the red zone. Evan Ingram, I think, is poised to be a top 10 fantasy tight end. I have him at 11 because I'm just not sure yet. Forgive me for my yawning. I'm just so daggone tired, man. All right. Number 10. Number 10. Now, I have this guy at number 10 because, where is he at? I just had him. Here he is right here. Okay. I have him at 10 because he is proven to be a solid tight end. Last year finished tight end 26, but he also didn't have the type of year I thought he would have. I thought he would have a much better year going into year 2 of his career. The departure of their top wide receiver was one of the main reasons why I thought he would be a no-brainer prospect in fantasy last year. This year, I'm thinking something similar. Last year, this player had 56.8 fantasy points, played 13 games, okay, 75 targets, 44 receptions, 448 yards with 2 touchdowns. Those sound like, average tight end numbers. And still, again, only one tight end that I've mentioned so far has eclipsed 100 points. Understand the value in the position. I'm talking about Dalton Kincaid with the Buffalo Bills. He has the potential to become a 90 target tight end, just like Zach Ertz was last year was in Washington. Now, you might say Buffalo has this, that, and the third weapon. Josh Allen is their big weapon. Josh Allen loves to throw to the tight end. Okay? You cannot. Well, you can. I'll say this. 75 targets shows you that he wants to throw the ball to the tight end. Right? Why he missed 30 balls, I don't know. But I think he's going to connect on a lot of those passes. If Kincaid gets the 75 targets this year that he got last year, I'm willing to say he's going to catch 55, 60 of them. That's over 10 to 20, increase in receptions, which means his yards is going to increase. Potential for touchdowns is going to increase. But it's got to be healthy. Got to be healthy. Dalton Kincaid, my number 10. Number 9. Fight me. Just go ahead and fight me. Go ahead and fight me. Because I believe in this kid. I believe in Joe Hendry. No. Actually, I don't believe in Joe Hendry. Wrestling reference if you didn't know. This guy finished tight end 12. 12. People slept on him. There was a quarterback change. And you saw what he could do. You saw what he could do. In 17 games, this player amassed 84.2 fantasy points. 74 targets, the bulk of which happened in the last 6 to 7 games of the season. But only caught 47. 602 yards, 4 touchdowns. So far from 15 to number 9, only 2 tight ends have caught more than 3 touchdowns. Kyle Pitts and Zach Ertz. Kyle Pitts Sr., I believe, will be heavily utilized this year for Michael Penix Jr. Drake London's going to get his. John Robinson is going to get his. Tyler Algier is going to get his. Darnell Mooney. Who expected Darnell Mooney to do what he did last year? I do know one person that did. I will not give him credit because he's not on this show. But he did expect Darnell Mooney to do what he did last year. Kyle Pitts, I believe, instead of catching just 47 to 74, same target amount, maybe even more actually. I see him getting like 60 receptions. I actually do. 60 receptions. That's 13 more, catches. Could be 2, 3 more touchdowns. Definitely more yards. Explosive big guy. Kyle Pitts is my number 9. And fight me if you want to. It don't matter to me. It's my rankings. All right, let's go to number 8. Number 8, don't be late. Now, I'm going to give you a caveat for number 8. Depending on who the quarterback is. This guy finished tight end 11 last year. All right? Depending on who the quarterback is, This guy can literally finish top 5. He was the leading tight end in touchdowns, yards, and receptions when he had a certain quarterback playing and before he got hurt. Last year, listen to these stats. Listen to these stats. He only had 84.5 fantasy points. 84.5 in 11 games. 11 games. 97 targets. How does a tight end get 97 targets in 11 games? Bananas. Like I said, potential for top 5 tight end numbers. 64 of those receptions out of the 97 targets yielded 505 yards and 5 touchdowns. Again, David Njoku, that's what I have here. I think as long as Joe Flacco's in there, you can expect him to hit these numbers and eclipse them. A tight end has 97 targets. So far, the most targets by any tight end on my top 15. Next closest was 91, Zach Ertz. But Zach did that in 17 games. And Njoku did it in 11. That's nuts. Don't sleep on David Njoku. He is my number 8. Number 7. Now we get into the people that we know. Last year, this gentleman finished tight end number 9. It's really easy to finish high when you get 133 targets. Bananas. Finished with 98.4 fantasy points. Now, from last year, so far, the second highest total. Zach Ertz, again, outside of my top 10, had 111. 16 games this player played. And a lot of people was like, what's wrong with this player? Why isn't he getting in the end zone? What's wrong with the team? Well, second half of the season, they ran it back. And yeet, just like Jay Uso. Travis Kelce caught 97 of the 133 targets. Targets equal opportunity. 97 receptions, right? 823 yards. 3 touchdowns. He ran the ball one time for 1 yard. But that 3 touchdowns, that's why fantasy, folks are like, why is he not getting in the end zone? Because Travis Kelce normally gets like 7, 8, if not more touchdowns a season. But it's the decline in his usage. Like I said, second half of the season, Kansas City decided we're going to throw Travis the ball. Pat just fed him. But that was by necessity. Rice was out. Hollywood was out. Worthy wasn't doing everything he should have been doing or didn't pick up as quickly as they thought he would. Hopkins was there. He was taking some of the love. The other tight ends were as well. Pat said, you know what, let me go to Mr. Reliable. And just gave it to him. But I have him at number 7 because Rice is healthy, facing a suspension. Don't know how long it's been, maybe 4 games. Hollywood's healthy. Worthy is going into year 2. Isaiah Pacheco, is now getting in the receiving mix. The other tight ends in the receiving mix. I think these targets are going to decline this year. Instead of 133, maybe it's 100. Right? Travis Kelce is still worth drafting. Just don't expect those touchdowns to be like they used to be. Don't. And again, 98.4 fantasy points is less than a lot of the IDPs that I talked about yesterday. Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here delivering the message. All right. With that being said, let's go to our next our next tight end. Happens to be another oldie but goodie. Finished tight end 5. Finished tight end 5 last year. Played all 17 games. And finally, we have a fantasy points leader change at tight end. He had 133.8 fantasy points. It might not have seemed like it because there was another tight end on this team just eating up all the catches, all the touchdowns. Well, that tight end is likely not to be ready for the season. See what I did? Isaiah Likely has an injury, so Mark Andrews had 69 targets last year, 59 receptions, 673 yards, 11 touchdowns. 11. He ran the ball 4 times for 5 yards, but 11 touchdowns later in the season. I don't know why, he wasn't a feature early on in the season. I don't. Isaiah Likely was. And Isaiah Likely had a lot of targets and a lot of catches and several touchdowns. But when it was all said and done, Mark Andrews had 11. 133.8 fantasy points. I look for him to repeat that. All because Derrick Henry is there. Zay Flowers stepped up. Not many targets, but 55 catches of 69 targets is consistency and gets you 133.8 fantasy points. Can he do it again? I think he can. Now, with Hopkins there, will that number dwindle? I don't think so, because Likely is out maybe the first couple games. I think he broke his collarbone. Expect Andrews to do good things. Let's go to number 5. Now, I actually wanted to put this guy in my number 4, but I put him number 5 because of a QB change. Last year, he finished tight end 30. I want you to remember, he didn't play all 17 games. He played 10, right? Same as numbers in Njoku, but Njoku had mad targets. Came back from an injury early that he had the previous year. Came back a little earlier. Had a little bit of an issue. But the team was winning without getting him the ball as much. Matter of fact, they were winning without getting Justin Jefferson in the end zone. TJ Hawkinson in 10 games had 45.5 fantasy points, 41 receptions on 62 targets, 455 yards, and no touchdowns. What does he have now? A rookie quarterback, so to speak. JJ McCarthy didn't play last year. So, even though he has 1 year accrued as an NFL player, he has not played 1 year football. He's going to use TJ as a security blanket, dude. I expect TJ to get at least 100 targets this year. I'm serious. Jordan Addison's numbers, I think, are going to decline, only because McCarthy, he has an arm. Wasn't used that much at Michigan, except in the championship game. But I don't know if he has the placement yet for Justin Jefferson or Addison. They're going to run the ball. Believe that. And the beneficiary of the most targets will not be Justin Jefferson. I think Justin will get his due, but I think TJ Hockenson is probably going to get 100 targets. And targets equal opportunity. TJ Hockenson, my number 5, only because his quarterback situation. All right. Let's get to it. Number 4. Fight me if you want. But this guy, in some people's rankings, he's number 1. He's my number 4. Last year, he finished tight end number 1. Right? He's not going to finish tight end number 1 this year. Last year, 158.6 fantasy points. I honestly didn't know he had that many. Honestly, I didn't. But 158.6 fantasy points in 15 games, 94 targets. Caught 78 of them. See that efficiency right there? 1,106 yards. Our first 1,000-yard tight end. 1,106 yards. And 8 touchdowns. Second leading touchdown scorer so far. Mark Andrews was number 1. George Kittle is my number 4 tight end. Here's why. No Debo. Gotta rely on Ricky Parasol, right? Second-year player. Brandon Ayuk, still a little nicked up, but he'll come back, but still nicked up. CMC, he's there, but for how long? Juwan Jennings, reliable, but not a big threat. So the only real offense outside of when CMC is able to do things that's reliable is George Kittle. You might say, so why is he your number 4? Why is he number 1? I don't like the way San Fran is going to play this year. I don't think San Fran is going to be a passing team. I think these 94 targets are great from last year, but I don't think he gets them this year. I think they're going to be a power run team. Power run. So 1,106 yards? No. He'll probably get 700 to 800, that is. 8 touchdowns. I can't say that's going to go down because he's always a prime target for them in the red zone. But 158.6 points is huge. And I don't think he's going to top that this year. I really don't. George Kittle, my number 4. Number 3. Again, fight me. I don't care. There's a whole new offense as opposed to what it was last year. This guy finished tight end number 2, and I'm not going to drag it out. He was a rookie last year, broke Mike Ditka's record. He had 150.7 fantasy points, played all 17 games. This is crazy. This is the crazy stat, y'all. This is why you might want to fight me. 153 targets, 112 catches, 5 touchdowns. And he ran the ball 5 times, got 13 yards on that. But a tight end getting 153 targets in one season? I check the math or check the stats, but I don't think Antonio Gates or Antonio Gonzalez got that many targets in one season. I really don't think so. Mike Ditka's record was broken for the most receptions by a tight end at 112 in a rookie season, I believe, or just in a season period. This guy is special. Uber. I was about to say super, but uber special. But the problem that I have and why he's not my tight end number 1 is that a complete overhaul in the offense, the quarterback, the system, the running back, offensive line is Gino's going to feed him 153 times. I do not believe so. But he's going to give him something. And Bowers produces. He had more targets than Jacoby Myers, their number 1 wide receiver. And I believe he had more receptions than Jacoby Myers, their number 1 wide receiver. Really, Brock Bowers is their number 1 wide receiver. And for me, he's my tight end number 3, only because complete offensive philosophy change. It's the only reason why. Otherwise, he would be my number 1. My number 2, make sure I got this right. Yeah. My number 2 is kind of 2A, 2B situation to me. But my number 2 is a guy that finished tight end 7, but is one of the most valuable assets on his team. But there are so many assets on his team that he finished tight end number 7. That's why I couldn't make him number 1. Right? He's number 2 to me because he had 114.6 fantasy points in 16 games, 83 targets, but he caught 60 of them. 726 yards receiving and 7 touchdowns. It's about Sam Laporta. We were told about Sam Laporta before he got drafted by one of our main viewers. And I appreciate him because he's told us all about every tight end coming out of Iowa. And he's been spot on. He told us about Cooper DeJean. Spot on. Laporta is a monster. If he'd have to share the rock with St. Brown, Jameson, Montgomery, and Gibbs, he would be easily 100 target territory. Easily. But look what he's done with the 83 targets he got. He got 60 catches, 726 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Very key component. So you might say, well, Vic, who in the hell do you have at number 1? And I'm not a homer. Not a homer at all. Uh-oh. Hawk had the number 1 target rate last year and the number 3 yards per reception and on 105 target rate. Look, According to NFL.com, Captain Spot, that's not accurate. NFL.com has him receiving, as well as was this fantasy football Jesus pros had him on 80 something receptions. I'm using both of those stats. If they're wrong, then somebody needs to correct me, because the NFL says it. They say it. That's what I'm going with. But my number one guy finished tight end 3 last year, but has the best strength of schedule, or his team does, for a tight end. Last year, he led all tight ends in receiving yards, second in receptions, played 16 games, had 138.8 fantasy points. He led them in receiving yards, y'all. The tight end had more yards receiving than a wide receiver. Bonkers. 147 targets. Just like Brock Bowers. Heavily targeted. 111 receptions. 2 touchdowns. 1 rushing attempt for 2 yards and a rushing touchdown. So add that there. I'm talking about Trey McBride. And I've seen this kid live, up close and personal. And Trey McBride is no joke. He is literally a guy that Kyler Murray, and it's to the detriment of Marvin Harrison Jr., not going to lie. But you got to feed the beast. They're going to feed him more this year. I think he goes over 150 targets. I mean, I know it's only 3 more, but still. I think he gets fed. Constantly gets fed. Trey McBride, to me, he blocks, runs nice routes, big soft hands. They just paid the man. He is a monster target. Only 2 receiving touchdowns last year. But I think that's going to jack up a bit, because they can run the ball in really well with Connor and Benjamin, and they throw a lot of fades when they see one-on-one coverage. Kyler does when he sees one-on-one coverage with Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm still utilizing McBride, man. I'm still utilizing him. My top 15 tight ends this upcoming season. Again, I want you to think about it. I want you to think about these categories: strength of schedule, usage, and what they have on that team. Raiders didn't have much last year, right? That's why Bowers got so many targets. Arizona, they have decent players. Marvin Harrison Jr. was a rookie. Didn't get the type of targets I thought he should get. Hopefully they fix that. But there's really nobody on the outside. Greg Dortch, Wilson. Connor was a monster at running back, but you're going to throw the ball to McBride more so than you're going to throw it to Connor or Eno Benjamin. Njoku's numbers are insane. Was it 94 targets in 10 games? That's nuts. How does he could have easily eclipsed 200 targets? Easily. Value what you value. But what I'm going to tell you is, out of these 15 players, only 4 or 5 broke the 100-point fantasy mark. If you're not in a league that's using IDPs, try it out. Their point values equal, if not surpass, that of a tight end. And if you saw yesterday's show, that's the proof. I ran down the numbers, the fantasy point numbers. Today, I ran down the tight end fantasy point numbers. There's no comparison, really. Not really. But today is a IOP show featuring tight ends. Next week, I'll be featuring the wide receivers. All right. If you got a question, and thank you, Captain Spock, for your comment. I appreciate it. Not going to debate you on it. I'm just saying, based upon what Fantasy Football Pros and NFL.com have, those are numbers I have. And that's what I'm reporting from. If anybody has a comment, by all means, please share. This shirt is not meant to insult you guys today. Remember when I asked you for your opinion? Me neither. But I'm asking you for your opinion. I want your opinion. I want to know what you think. Feel free. Even, after this airs, put a comment down. I'll reply back to it. I promise you. On whatever platform you're using. Right now, I want to say thank you to everybody watching on X, watching on YouTube, watching on Facebook. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. With that being said, it's time for me to get ready to get out of here and wish you guys a happy Sunday as we proceed to give you what you need. 9-5. Let me add this. And see ya.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Get ready to rumble! You wanna talk smack? You in the right place. So take a step back before I get all up in your
Remember, because I don't remember. I remember every bit of this.
You're the dudes holding on the phone line. Your voice will be heard, sir.
Next caller, please.
Jerry's gonna get him.
Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics. Fantasy, sports, and politics.
Listeners are asking questions about this week's games, not Jerry's personal beef. So what's your thought?